U.S., 25 years ago, 6% of the children suffered obesity. So 1 in 16, 1 in 15, like that. Today, we've gone to 20%, so 1 in 5. So we've gone from 1 in 16 to 1 in 5 in 20 years. Yeah. And looking at it, obviously, diet is a huge part. It's not the only part, though. It's the environment that our children are growing up in and how all those environmental factors affect their hormones, their endocrine system, everything else. But obviously, looking and focusing on diet and food is the starting point. If we don't start there, then we're already lost. Yeah?
Right.
Yeah. So, very good to have you here to share your expertise and your experience.
And the goal for me in working with kids in my Raising Balanced Eaters program and working with kids, 0 to 18 is never to even go into calories, never to even go into really needing the scale, because if you started off in the right culture in the home, you really never have to get there. Yeah. And, thankfully, all my kids have, they're very healthy and they're well-sized. And I think people look at me and my husband now, because collectively, even as a couple, we're down 50 pounds since our wedding, which is kind of amazing over the last 14 years. So I think people look at our kids being a healthy weight as just, a reflection of their parents. Oh, the kids are naturally thin because the parents are naturally thin, when in fact, my kids still have my genes 100%. They love food. And if it weren't for me fostering this very positive relationship with food at home, I don't think it would necessarily go that way. Yep. And I think one of the things is, for me as a kid, my dad used to say a horrible line, and I always call him out for it, but he used to tell me, if it tastes good, it's not good for you. And it really made me think of he kind of treated veggies like it was a chore, you have to eat them. I know you want to eat the burger and fries, but you have to eat the veggies. And it just creates this very unpleasant perspective towards them, versus if you go to France, if you go to Israel, if you go to Greece, the kids are just happily eating veggies because they're a part of the culture, because they're learning where they come from, what they can do for us, the powers that they hold and have, and they see their parents happily eating it, not because they're on a diet, but because they're part of the culture and the way of life. And that is a critical change that needs to happen in our society today in America.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. And I can't wait to unpack that a little bit further as it relates to the negative relationship that's first established with, as you just described it, the rainbow of fruits and vegetables with children. It's you just got to get it done, where that should be an entirely new relationship established with those foods. It's the picky eaters. We're going to pick your brain about picky eaters coming up. But even before we get into this calories in, calories out methodology, I'm really happy to hear that you're really not a part of that school of thought. Probably some value to it, but this genetic aptitude, this predisposition, do you think or feel that you have evidence to believe that you have a genetic predisposition? Is that what I heard you say?
I mean, 100%. It's very hard to become morbidly obese by 8 years old. There are a lot of kids in my kids' grades who I see eat probably as unhealthily as I used to eat, and they did not get that heavy, and they are not that heavy, and they're probably going to continue to get away with it, so to speak, until it really hits them maybe in their late teens or early 20s. So the fact that I could get so heavy so young is just a sign that I am genetically have the obesity gene, or whatever you want to say. Also, even to this day, I can gain weight very, very, very quickly. I will typically work with a client in perimenopause, tell me, I can never gain weight this easily. I was always able to have this and that. And I'm I've never been able to get away with that. So you have to adjust. So definitely don't have the quote unquote best metabolism, but you can still work with it with a positive mindset and realize, okay, well, a metabolism means the rate at which you burn the food off. So I stay fuller longer, it stays in me more, and I don't need to eat as often as some other people. So you could really flip anything for a switch.
Well, we talk about this on the program a lot, the difference between genetics and epigenetics. Help simplify that for a listener, Doc, because it's not your fate, right? And I think that you're a perfect example of this.
Yeah. So, our genes when we're born, they're like a switchboard, untouched, and so what pushes them, what triggers them is depending on what we do, how we do it, the environment we're in, the food we eat, the company we keep, our mindset, what we think, what we're taught to think. So really we're like a blank slate, with tendencies. but those tendencies don't get pushed until we're exposed to what we're exposed to in the environment. And more recent studies with epigenetics show that overwhelmingly it's what surrounds us that triggers our genes, not
Totally.
what's in us, not what we're born with.
Oh, there's so many studies even to show that if your like 3 closest friends are overweight, you're so much more likely to become overweight. You know, it's also like how you
The circle.
exactly
The
the
circle.
circle you're in, which is why I like to speak at kids' schools and everything to really try to get all the parents on board with a more positive way of thinking and approaching food. And this week I have 2 boys, and they are constantly, sadly, getting scratched, getting injured, falling down. They play a lot of sports. They run around all day. And my son just got stitches this week on his chin, poor kid. And the first thing he said is, we should eat salmon for dinner, because he knows like salmon has omega-3s, it has protein, it helps build collagen, it helps us heal. And cauliflower for the vitamin K, for the blood clotting. Like my kids they don't just eat veggies. I try to change the conversation so they want to. They actually want to seek the
How
healthy
old? He
food.
sounds like a micronutrient lexicon.
He is my middle son Julian really is a special one. He like requests sautéed mushrooms every day. He gets upset when I don't have them.
My son would call me on my cell phone at 5 years old and say, because I would do equally the amount of same shopping that my wife does. We share the kitchen as well. And say, Dad, don't forget the Brussels sprouts. What is that about?
Muscle sprouts. We call them muscle sprouts.
Nice. I love that. Well, we asked Consensus. We do this on the show quite often. Consensus is a database of all the science. Does social network, as you just described, friends and people close to it. Actually, this is work of Dan Butner in the Blue Zones as well. He covers this a lot. Influence increase the risk of obesity, and it's a pretty clear green line here for yes, with some mixed evidence. That doesn't mean no; it just means inconclusive. And so the smaller portion is no. But this makes me wonder why some of the research, sometimes it's the age of the study, would actually even suggest a trend in that direction. And I suppose that's to do with a lot of things like genes and comes back to environment. So this plays a role clearly, who you hang around with, but there's the genetic component again, right? Tell us a little bit about calories in, calories out, because this is the first question, no matter how old a child is, or even mom in utero and their personal struggles with weight. We're not bomb calorie meters, right?
Right.
First of all, where did calories come from?
Right. Calories are just a unit of energy, and we burn a certain number, like our base metabolic rate. We burn a certain number just by living, just by breathing, just by using the bathroom every day and walking, sub 1,000 steps just to and from the bathroom. We're just burning some calories, usually at least 1,000 just to live and survive. And then when we have a great excess of what we need, it will store as fat. And when we have we will typically burn fat for that same energy. So that's like calories in a nutshell. But the quality of a calorie definitely makes a difference. You see, there's also a thermogenetic component of food, like how we burn calories just by digesting food. So 100 calories of pure chicken breast, once we burn it off and digest it, might turn into 85 calories that you're actually getting versus 100 calories of white rice, that's simple sugar, easy to digest, we'll probably get all 100 calories. So there's definitely a varying degree of the quality of the calorie. The idea, from my perspective, is to never get anyone have to count calories on a daily basis. I don't think it's very sustainable. But I think when we're talking to parents about calories, it's important that you look at them somewhat, because a snack, for instance, for a kid, for an adult too, an adult and a kid or wherever, snack should be around like 150 calories. The idea is that it keeps you somewhat sustained between meals, but it shouldn't replace a meal. And it shouldn't have so many calories that you're not hungry for the next meal. And then it's not just the calories, but what do the calories contain? So if it's 150 calories of sugar, it's not doing much for us. It's only going to drive our cravings for more food later, versus if it's 150 calories of a cheese stick and a mini orange that has fiber, that has protein, it's going to keep you fuller longer, it's going to give you sustained energy and growth. So that's like a nutshell of the calories. But it's so crazy to me. There's this new snack, not to trash any snack, but there's this snack, these like Nutella sticks. And on one side, it's this chocolate Nutella spread, and the other side are these like white enriched flour sticks, and they sell them at Costco, and they're very affordable. I think you can get 40 of these packs for maybe less than $18 or something like that. So parents love buying them for their kids. This pack has 270 calories of what? Sugar. Seed oil, sugar, like
Obesogen.
just
Obesogenics.
270 calories. That is not a snack. For a child, that is a meal, depending on the age and size. So, not that you should obsess over calories, but if parents are in the supermarket, you got to see what you're buying.
Right.
One, look at the calories somewhat, because you don't want our kids to have weight issues down the line. You want them to still be hungry for their meals. And if they are going to be having a snack, it should contain protein, fiber, but ideally both.